forecast for the week of November 5th, 2023. I'm not even going to say, oh my gosh, it's November. Yeah, I'm not even going to, well, I guess I did. So we're coming off of Saturn station to go direct on Saturday, the 4th, and that somewhat heavy energy, it should be pretty dissipated by the time we get to Sunday. We still have the Leo moon. It's the last quarter moon. And I would think that, if you're looking to get out, if you're watching this on Saturday, I would think that Saturday night, the 4th, is probably better than the 3rd, Friday night. Right. If you tried to go out on Friday night, the 3rd, it may not have worked out all that well. Should have better luck on Saturday night this weekend. Sunday, to tell you the truth, has some pretty nice energy, though. So maybe, it's Sunday, but see what you can do. There's, farther away from Saturn, still have a Leo moon, got some stuff going on. Interesting stuff happens this week. Venus, for example, is busy. We have to point out, too, that we have, as we begin this week, all of the planets, except for the moon, all of the planets are in earth or water signs. And that is especially true on Monday when the moon goes into Virgo. And then Venus in Virgo will make a trine to Pluto on the 6th. This is an interesting kind of aspect because, well, you think trines are harmonious and positive things, and they are. And yet, Venus is in Virgo, where she's not exactly thrilled, and she's at the end of Virgo, so there's a very Virgo vibe. And Pluto, of course, is at the very end of Capricorn. So this is kind of like, intense sort of, we're at the end of things. It's more of an ending than beginning. And Venus is actually getting closer to Pluto. For those of you that are astrologically savvy, it's a closing trine. Venus is approaching Pluto, Virgo down to Capricorn, as opposed to an opening trine if she was in Taurus. But let's not overcomplicate things. There's a sense that maybe a little bit of discrimination and, like discrimination as a good faculty in your mind. You're able to discriminate things, not like discrimination, like, like racism type, not like that. But there's a kind of like, discriminative ability to sort of see what's going on in relationships. Also with regard to finances, especially we're still coming off of that Saturn station. Saturn doesn't move 24 minutes all month long. He doesn't move really. So there's a kind of bottom line energy about this, so Venus trine Pluto, it might sound like there'd be a ton of fun and passion and stuff. More, I feel it's just a very realistic vibe about relationship, maybe making some decisions. If it's time to let go, this aspect is certainly one in able to further that goal of getting out of situations that you're not crazy about. And to tell you the truth, with Venus in Virgo, just exactly why. There's not some vague feeling that, oh, gee, things could be better. No, you know what's in need of repair, or, and maybe it is just a need for repair, or maybe it's a need to get out. If things are going good for you, there's no doom and gloom here. If things are going good, things are going to continue to go well. This is actually a very nice aspect. Whatever you can do with Venus and Virgo, go eat some, go have a nice dinner of kale together. Also, too, within the world of finances, we're likely to see that people are being cautiously optimistic with regards to things. I don't think this would be the kind of thing that would rattle us too badly financially. If you're looking at your 401k or something like that, I don't think this aspect is the problem. But we have to see. People are capable of interpreting even the most optimistic aspects in a cautionary way, and this is a fairly cautionary, optimistic aspect. Then on Wednesday, Venus goes into Libra, and now we have some light. We have a planet in an air sign. We had a couple of weeks of there just being earth and water. Now we have Venus in an air sign, and Venus is very happy in Libra. She wasn't thrilled about being in Virgo. It's well, it's in the past, so we don't need to talk about that until next year. But in Libra, Venus favors socialization and graciousness, following the rules, following the rules. We could use a little of that. Venus in Libra helps us to, mind our manners, go through protocol, take things a step at a time. You say it nicely. Take the other's perspective. Take the other's perspective. Helpful for relationships, but it's helpful for work relationships. It's helpful for business dealings. It's helpful for anything. Really, there's an air of diplomacy, and maybe we'll find a better way to do things. Maybe we can come to a compromise. Compromise. Remember, I don't think compromise is the highest goal in life or anything like that. But as an intermediate goal, I think we could use some compromise right now. So let's hope for that. So that's Venus in Libra. And we also have some interesting aspects. Mercury is very busy this week as well. Mercury trines Neptune from the end of Scorpio. And this is like a kind of ability, let's say at midweek, the ability to channel some creativity. This particularly should be good for expressing things verbally. Maybe I better record the forecast sometime around midweek. And then Mercury goes on to sextile Pluto, and that should be very helpful because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, where Mercury is hanging out. And this is the ability to get across a potentially difficult message in a reasonable kind of way. So we look at that in a very positive sense. And then Mercury really sort of inaugurates Sagittarian season by going into Sagittarius on the 10th. And that should be Friday. And when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, we'll be feeling, is the 10th Friday? Well, it's the 10th. Mercury goes into Sagittarius, and we get a little bit more light. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius is a bit of a thing. The planet of communication in the sign of beliefs, there's a little bit of a problem here. Mercury in Sagittarius says, I know what's good. I know what I believe. I know the way things should be. It's inspired, fiery. But Mercury in Sagittarius really can't be bothered by pesky little things like facts. And so as he goes into Sagittarius, we get a tendency, we'll see this on the collective, of just say what you want to say, blurt it all out there. Except you better watch what you say, because Mercury's first aspect, as soon as he gets into the sign, is a square to Saturn in Pisces. And so Mercury is ready to spew out whatever he's ready to spew out. And then Saturn says, but that's not true. So that's kind of a dynamic that we'll see as we approach the weekend. Be kind of careful with what you're saying. Check to think, well, is this really true? On the collective level, of course, we'll see people spewing stuff out without really doing any editing. But you can edit yourself and say, well, is this really what I'm looking at? If you have something to communicate, if you've got something important to be done and you want to communicate it, you want to do it at midweek, right? You want to get this done, let's say, sometime between Tuesday and Thursday. Mercury's making nice aspects at that time. Wednesday and beyond with Venus in Libra is pretty ideal. So Wednesday, Thursday is your window of opportunity this week for, telling your boss that the project isn't going to be done on time, or for that matter, telling the boss that the project is going to be done earlier and under budget. That would also, you want this to go over well, whether it's bad news or good. If you have to ask for vacation time, I'm thinking Wednesday or Thursday, this type of thing. Friday, a little bit more cautionary, but it's not just Mercury and Saturn. It'll be interesting to see what happens because Saturn's in Pisces, where it's not necessarily that strong. He's sort of trying to be the keel on the ship, but we'll see. Then, my hand looks really big when I do that, right? Then on Saturday, as we're approaching the new moon on the 13th, we have Mars opposite Uranus. Now, this is going to color Friday and Saturday and beyond. But let's say for our purposes in this forecast, it's Friday and Saturday. Mars in Scorpio, where he's really ready to be reacting. Remember, Mars in Scorpio is the defensive warrior. This is the Mars not going out there to conquer something new. That's Mars in Aries. This is Mars protecting what he's got. Opposite Uranus, who's out in Taurus. This is a volatile aspect. Mars-Uranus aspects are always volatile. And with Mars in Scorpio, the thing is that the windup, because Scorpio is a fixed sign, it holds in place until pop. So what happens on Friday, Saturday, that has this Mars-Uranus character, it's a little bit like a jack-in-the-box. Right? Wind it up and wind it up and wind it up, and you don't know exactly when that's going to spring out. So what do? Well, you got to be a little careful. You got to be a little careful. You got to be careful driving. Always the number. Just be careful driving all the time. I won't have to say it every week, but this is an aspect that really suggests you want to be careful driving, especially with Mercury in Sagittarius, where, speed limits. So I want to be careful with driving. We're on the collective level, who knows? But that's such a dumpster fire anyway. It doesn't, everything is just sort of lost in the noise of ongoing chaos. But we will see folks being more reactive than usual, and you may very well find that people hold in and they're like, watch for tight-lipped, because when those lips open, you're going to hear it. So Friday and Saturday, you might possibly want to take a little time just to sort of do things by yourself, work by yourself, maybe play by yourself. And generally speaking, take a step back. So, don't avoid everything. You can probably have some pretty good fun with this energy too. But if conditions are right. If you're not sure about things, you want to be a little bit more cautious as we approach the weekend. We're coming into the new moon, and you might think, well, it's going to be quiet. But again, it's that kind of tight-lipped quietness that we're looking at over here. Probably, by Saturday is probably the better time to get out. I mean, it's still the weekend of the new moon, and quite likely it really works to have a time closer to home and, maybe rest up for the holidays or recuperate from Saturn's station last week or what have you. But yeah, that weekend of the 11th, Saturday the 11th, might be a little tense. So, give others space and take what you need for yourself. And I will see you back here next week, if all goes well.